Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for the ride. My name is Mark Farzetta. So much to get into. What a weekend for your Philadelphia Phillies, getting shut out not once, the first time this season. They figured, hey, let's do it twice. They get shut out twice by the St. Louis Cardinals. Alec Bohm continues to be terrible at hitting baseballs. Brandon Marsh completely lost. I don't know what they could do. They seem to be completely out of ideas. The Phillies seem to be completely out of ideas at this point. It's going to be a rough road ahead for your Philadelphia Phillies. We also got the 76ers to talk about. Their season finally ended. Thank goodness. 58-24. 58-24. 58-20. Literally, if at the start of the season you would have told me the Sixers record, I'd say, do you have that backwards? Is that reversed? And it's not at all. That's the record. Daryl Morey, we'll hear from him on the show. Yesterday, addressed the media along with Nick Nurse for about 35 minutes, 40 minutes. They answered questions from the media about this team. Really nothing too forthcoming other than they'll both be back next year. Paul George, Joel Embiid, 100% will be back next year. Yeah. We have that to look forward to. And mum was the word when it came to Joel Embiid and his future as far as health went with this team. So we're going to get into all that and more on the show. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. And yes, it is great to have you along for the ride. Before we go any further, I'm going to adjust one thing. I actually only started 15 minutes late today. Let's hope that fix the sound a little bit better there. But yeah, watching this Phillies team over the weekend has been extremely frustrating. The Phillies, when I talk about Alec Bohm, I was thinking about it yesterday as I continue to watch him struggle. Now, in his first at bat, he swung at the first pitch. He ended up working a 6-pitch at bat, 7-pitch at bat, I believe it was. But he did swing at the first pitch. So the approach was the same as far as being aggressive, going up there, guessing right, and making something happen for himself. But throughout the game, I was wondering, what's the next move for the Phillies? And I think there's really only one logical thing the Phillies could do with Alec Bohm right now. And you could call it a extended sit. You could call it a break. You could call it allowing him to step away from the game for a second. He needs to be benched. And I am someone that, by the way, thinks Alec Bohm's going to break out of this. I'm someone that thinks Alec Bohm's going to get back to the 280, the 274, the 280 that he's hit each of the last 3 seasons for the Phillies. Someone who's going to be clutch in positions where he got runners in scoring position. He comes to the plate. I think he's going to be that guy. Now, it's going to be a long road back to the 4 spot. This seems to be the lineup that Rob Thompson really wants to go with, having Kyle Schwarber bat right behind Bryce Harper. So we'll see how this goes. He made the change, and you've been shut out twice, so that's not exactly the greatest thing. It might aesthetically look good, but if nobody's hitting or scoring runs, then that's a problem. But as far as Bohm goes, he needs to be benched right now. The Phillies have literally tried everything other than this to get him going. First, they gave him the scheduled day off, quote unquote, against the Dodgers. That didn't do anything for him. He comes out in Atlanta, drop him in the order, starts hitting the ball a little harder, and you're thinking, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe this is him breaking out of it. He's squaring up the baseball pretty well. No, he didn't break out of it. Gets dropped in the order again. Goes 0 in the first game in St. Louis. Then he gets a hit in game 2. And it was that little thing that a lot of people talk about, a lot of ex-ball players talk about, where, he gets this little hit, this little infield single to short, just a well-placed grounder. And he beats it out. Oh, maybe that'll take the pressure off, and maybe that'll get him going. Nope. 0 for the next day as well in the same exact approach. And in the 7th inning yesterday, his bat in the 7th inning is the one that really bothered me, because he went up there again, hacking at a first pitch, and he gets a curveball low and away that he flies out with. Drops the barrel of the bat on it. Well, the end of the barrel of the bat on it, and he ends up flying out. That's the over-aggressive approach. That's the not letting the game come to him. And even in game 2, the at-bat after he got that little RBI single, we're like, oh, yeah, maybe the pressure's off. The next at-bat, I think he flew out in that at-bat as well. He just drops the bat. Like, I have defended Alec Bohm against people that say, oh, the horrible body language of Alec Bohm. Like, I want you to be frustrated if you're not playing well. I want you to be angry. I don't want you to act like somebody who doesn't care. But there's a fine line, I think, between acting like you don't care or acting like you do care, and then a fine line between that and just looking lost. And right now, Alec Bohm not only looks lost, he looks hopeless. And the only thing the Phillies haven't done is an extended sit. The only thing the Phillies haven't done is benching him, which essentially is the only option left. You're going to just say, all right, no, just keep going out there. Because the more he plays, the more he seems to be digging himself this hole. The more he plays, the more he seems to sink through the quicksand. And he's not going to hack his way out of this. He's not just going to all of a sudden start barreling baseballs. He literally is swinging, playing with zero confidence at the plate. He looks lost. He looks hopeless right now. The Phillies need to put him out of his misery and say, sit over here. We'll probably get you opportunities to get at bats maybe later in the game. We need to make a change. I don't know. Good matchup, good pitcher that you've had success against. We're going to put you in the best possible position. But right now, your position should be on the bench. And how do you continue to tell a guy like Edmundo Sosa, for instance, yeah, this guy's going to continue to play. Hey, Brandon Marsh, this guy's going to continue to play. But Edmundo Sosa, you're not going to play. Yeah, that can't happen anymore. And he makes the heads-up play yesterday. Hey, was he dead to rights at second base? He absolutely was. But the way things are going for Edmundo Sosa to start the season, he wasn't going to get thrown out at second base in that third inning. Little swim move slide in there. How do you continue to tell him, go sit over here? Go sit over here. How do you how do you do that? The way this weekend went, you had the awful game in Atlanta where you have the 2-hour and 45-minute rain delay. You go into extra innings. Again, Phillies offense doesn't get much for you in that game. You get into St. Louis at 3:40 in the morning in St. Louis. Now, Phillies come out and they get shut out in that first game. After the game, my take on postcast was, look, I would accept, not even, I wouldn't determine an excuse. I'd call it an explanation if the Phillies offense was red hot. And then they got into 3:40 in the morning after an 11-inning game with a 2-hour, 45-minute rain delay, came out against St. Louis, and then were flat and didn't score for the first time all season. I would be like, oh, well, they were red hot, and then they didn't get any rest. Whatever. Not even an excuse, explanation. But my take was this. I don't care that that's an excuse. That's not an excuse that you get in there at 3:40 in the morning. You had an 8:15 start time. It wasn't like you got a 1:35 in the afternoon start time or 2:35 or 2:15 like the other games. You 8:15. You had plenty of time to get some Z's, okay? So not an excuse for me, and particularly even outside just the scheduling. What looked different? What looked different with this Phillies team than what we had seen going into that game? Now, you can obviously argue, the big goose egg was different, but did you see guys being overly aggressive at the plate? Did you see guys having bad at-bats? Did you see guys chasing balls out of the zone? Oh, did you? Did you? Because that's what I saw. Same thing. Same thing. They didn't get maybe one good swing from Kyle Schwarber in that game to give them at least one run. That didn't happen. They didn't get a runner on second and get one well-timed hit. No, they didn't get that. They were almost as bad as the majority of the season when you talk about bad approaches at the plate. They were almost as bad as moments throughout the last 3 years that we've seen them be that bad. So all of a sudden, the 3:40 start time's the reason why they're struggling? No, they've been struggling. They've been. That's why I'm not looking at 3:40 arrival time on Friday morning as an excuse for why the Phillies got blanked. And how about this? After they slept in the same bed for a couple of nights, they come out in the third game of this series, and what do? Oh, my goodness, they get shut out again. So not an excuse. Zach Wheeler got gotten to for the second consecutive start. I saw Corey Simon put out the stat that it's the first time Zach Wheeler, this is just how you know everything's going wrong for the Phillies, first time since 2023 that Zach Wheeler failed to record a quality start in back-to-back starts. First off, holy hell, what an amazing stretch there for Zach Wheeler. Second, I don't like that it ended now, especially when this offense, really this team needs him maybe more than ever, considering this is just a horrid slump. I remember a time against I think this is 2000, was it 2009? 2010 maybe? The Phillies got shut out in 3 straight games against the New York Mets at Citi Field. That sucked. That was bad. Jason Worth, I think, was still in the lineup at the time, too. That was bad. That was not fun. Did not enjoy that. This right now, watching them get shut out 2 games in 3, not so great. Seeing them drop 2 of 3 to the Braves, not so great. Seeing them go on to lose 2 or 3 again, this time to the Cardinals, also not great. And now you only have the San Francisco Giants coming to town for a 4-game series. It's only going to get better. But as far as Alec Bohm goes, to go back to him, this needs to end. And I don't see him going up there and just all of a sudden starting to look like the guy that we have seen over the last 3 years as far as being clutch with runners in scoring position and overall being able to hit between 274 and 280. Doesn't look like that guy. And I don't see all of a sudden that changing without the Phillies doing something drastic. And that drastic thing, I think, right now is actually appropriate, which is you can't play. Take a break. Clear your head. Step away from the game. Now, I don't mean you banish him from the land. I mean, no, he sits there on the bench. That's what has to happen. Rob Thompson talked about energy. Again, going back to that 3:40 start time or 3:40 arrival time in St. Louis, and said, I didn't really notice it on Friday, in Friday night's game, the lack of energy. I thought we were good. Okay. Sure, that's what he noticed. Not going to call him a liar for that. But he did say yesterday, for whatever reason, the Phillies lacked that energy. And it did very much look lethargic. It looked like the Phillies were just going through the motions yesterday. And when I looked at the pitch counts in the final couple innings there, it certainly lent itself to the idea of, oh, yeah, let's get the hell out of here and get back home. Excuse me. That's exactly what it looked like. Quick 8th inning, quicker 9th inning for the Phillies. I think they saw 8 pitches in that 9th inning. That was just get me home as fast as humanly possible. It was certainly rough. There's 2 changes the Phillies need to make. And one thing Rob Thompson was honest about after the game was Brandon Marsh. And he said, I think Todd Zalecki of MLB.com asked the question, as far as Marsh goes, you just keep throwing him out there? You just keep running him out there? What's going on? He goes, well, I got to think about that. I was like, okay, he ain't playing. He's going to get that break. And by the way, just for extra added pleasure, Brandon Marsh was traded for Logan O'Hoppe, if you remember. Logan O'Hoppe was sent from the Phillies, a catcher, who, yeah, you could certainly say was blocked by JT Realmuto, depending on your feelings about JT Realmuto. But Logan O'Hoppe has 5 home runs right now, and I think he's hitting .333 for the Angels. Now, my point at the time wasn't, don't trade O'Hoppe, keep him here and move Realmuto. That wasn't my take at the time. My take was, you couldn't have used O'Hoppe for something more than Brandon Marsh, who at the time, all we really knew about him was, well, he had long hair and a beard. And we also knew that he was mostly a defensive player. Didn't really bring much to the table. I think it was a .227 hitter at the time, for the Angels. So, yeah, they could have gotten more for him. For Logan O'Hoppe, that is. And then yesterday, I really started thinking about this because Brandon Marsh looked like he was really struggling in left field yesterday. The ball that he actually got to on the first ground rule double in the 6th inning that featured 2 ground rule doubles, he made it to the baseball. And originally I thought he kicked the ball or he slid into the ball with his foot or his leg and it bounced off that and then went into the stands for the ground rule double. No. He got there. He missed it. And then on the second ground rule double, this is where I had a problem. Originally, I was like, was Brandon Marsh hustling on that? And I went back and watched it, and I was like, no, he's lollygagging it there. He's not going full tilt. And then I listened to Rob Thompson after the game, and he was asked a question about why didn't any infielder make a play on that ball? And I went, holy hell, why didn't an infielder make a play on the ball? Now, I don't think anybody is getting that ball. I think the only guy that had a chance to get that ball was Brandon Marsh, and he was lollygagging it in left field. And in case you didn't see it, it was right by the left field line. right around that little corner where it kind of jets out there towards the outfield, where the stands kind of jet out towards the outfield. Right around that area, it drops in. Brandon Marsh is in pursuit of it, lackadaisically. Nobody from the infield is in the shot. The only person that could have gotten there was Brandon Marsh, who, by the way, runs well. And if he runs like he did to the first ball, I don't think he's going to miss two of them. But he did. And again, nobody made the play. So now I got three problems with that play. I thought I only had two. Now I got three. So he's lost right now as well. I would rather know I got a hot bat in the lineup with Edmundo Sosa than watching Brandon Marsh in left field. I would rather know I have a hot bat in the lineup and Edmundo Sosa at third base than Alec Bohm. I'd rather all that happen. And those things, hopefully, we see happen before the Phillies take to the field at 6:45 today. Hopefully, we see that happen before the lineup card comes out from Rob Thompson. But one thing I took away from Rob Thompson talking yesterday was he's aware of the problems. What are you going to do about it? He's at least aware of the Brandon Marsh problem. What's he going to do about the Alec Bohm problem? Because the Phillies have literally tried everything with Alec Bohm except a benching, which would be warranted considering right now in the month of April, he's hitting .095. This is a guy that was batting cleanup. I know it's early in the season. He's got plenty of time to turn it around, but I don't see that happening. The more he plays, the more he digs himself deeper and deeper and deeper into this slump. Phillies need to intervene with it. Brandon Marsh, I don't think you see Brandon Marsh in the lineup today. I think that's a pretty easy call. I listened to him after the game as well, and he just talked about how, oh my goodness, he just talked about how he's in the spot right now that no matter what he does, he just can't get out of it. He talked about how the team's not doing it, but it's, from an individual standpoint, he just doesn't know how to break out of the slump that he's in. I do feel bad for professional athletes when I know they want to be better and they just can't do it. So the Phillies need to get involved somehow. I don't know what Kevin Long's telling him, but I had this thought yesterday when it came to Alec Bohm. You know who Alec Bohm reminds me of right now? He reminds me of middle of the season Bryson Stott from last year. And if you remember in the middle of the season when Bryson Stott started struggling with the shoulder problem, I remember it coming out during one of the broadcasts. I can't remember if it was Tom McCarthy or if it was Taryn Hatcher. I can't remember who said this, but they said, when we talked to Kevin Long before the game about Bryson Stott's struggles, and what they're telling Bryson Stott is go out there and be aggressive at the plate. And I'm like, why would you tell him that? First off, that's not Bryson Stott's approach. Like, one of the things I like about Bryson Stott is that he's not afraid of 0-2. He's not afraid of 0-2. He can go 0-2, and then you blink, and the next it's a 3-2 count. He's working a walk. It's a 3-2 count. He's winning with a single to left field, going the other way with a pitch. He's just having a good at bat after being down 0-2. They told Bryson Stott last year, be more aggressive. That ain't him. And if you know the guy's hurt, why are you telling him to be more aggressive? If anything, please be more passive. So then I see Alec Bohm, who's already he's already wired to be aggressive. Are they also telling him to be more aggressive? Because I think that's the last thing they need from him. And I keep going back to this. I feel like I have to be the first pitch police and tell people, don't be that pissed off about somebody swinging at the first pitch. And I'll give you an example of that. I think it was whose home run? It was the Walker home run in the 8th inning off Carlos Hernandez. He goes up there thinking this guy's going to start me out with the first pitch fastball. He gets the first pitch fastball, whammy, 2-run home run left field. Like, that's a good approach. In my book, that's a good at bat. If you know what the pitcher's going to do and you're going to capitalize on it and not miss, then have at it, friend. But if you're going to go out there and say, I'm going to get a first pitch fastball here and I'm going to take care of it, or even I'm going to get a first pitch breaking ball here and I'm going to get it, it's got to be in your spot. One of the things I love about a guy like Manny Ramirez, all right, to bring back a name from the past. Manny Ramirez just had a to hell with it mentality. I'm going to go up there looking at a first pitch. If a first pitch is a fastball and it's in this spot, I'm going to kill it. But if it's not in this exact spot, if the longitude and latitude of this pitch isn't exactly in this area, then I am not offering at it. Alec Bohm, 7th inning. I'm going to get a first pitch curveball. Maybe that's what he's thinking. And I'm going to hammer that first pitch curveball. Well, he gets the first pitch curveball. Let's just assume for a second that he's guessing right, at least in that. It's nowhere near the place he's going to drive that ball. Outer half of the plate, away, and a little flail. barrel of the bat, off the end of the bat, whatever, and in the outfield for a flyout. That's a lack of adjustments. That's overly aggressive. That's not good at bat. So are they just telling him to keep doing what he's doing? Because that ain't open anything. Like, I don't know if some voodoo needs to be brought in here or something, man, but good God, it is terrible watching this continuously from a guy that I say all this, but I still see him as a much better ball player than what we have seen so far this season. It's a terrible slump, but the Phillies need to do something here to get him out of it because he ain't going to do it on his own. And telling him to go up there and be more aggressive or continue to be aggressive, you might as well, forget about the shovel that he could dig himself into this slump with. You might as well just get an excavator. That'll do it. Just help him out like that. But it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Again, back-to-back series losses after not having lost the series. 2 shutouts in the series after not getting shut out at any point in the early goings of this season. And now the tough series at home here against the Giants. One thing that Rob Thompson said after the game that just made me go crazy was we got to let's just get home. Let's get home. I hate to resort to home cooking. When you're resorting to, let's just get home and get that home cooking, sleep in our own beds and all that stuff. It wasn't like a 10-game road trip here, fellas. This wasn't that terrible. I really love to say home cooking is going to cure this, but I don't think so. I don't think so. One thing, I didn't realize this would be the best part of the weekend. Nick Castellanos in the first inning of Game 2 laid off a slider low and away on an 0-2 pitch. And I went, oh, my God. He laid off it. That's amazing. And then the next pitch, 2-run double, baby. All right. Way to go there, Nicky Three Buttons. Way to be. That was the best part. Other than that, everything sucked. All right. So the Phillies get back at it today, 6:45 against the San Francisco Giants in South Philadelphia, where home cooking will be waiting for them. Your Philadelphia 76ers. Holy pots and pans. What a horrible. I can't remember a time where I was this relieved for a season to be over. Like, even I thought about last year. Well, the Eagles 2 years ago now, they had that horrible collapse at the end of the year. They still made the playoffs. So it was like, even when the season was over, it wasn't. And then they went into the playoffs and then they lost. And then already you were just hooked on the idea of Jason Kelce retiring. So you moved on quick from it, whatever. But I can't remember a time where I was this excited for a season to be over. And finally it's over. The Philadelphia 76ers had a very disappointing year. The whole season of Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. Really, when I think about anything positive from this year, I think about Jared McCain's a player. I think about Quentin Grimes, I think, is a rotational player. Yesterday, Daryl Morey talked about how he likes his defensive ability with Tyrese Maxey. So maybe that's your 1 and 2 guards going into next year with McCain coming off the bench. I loved Dembona's maturation at the end of the year, getting an opportunity to get more minutes and making the most of those minutes, with the exception of a left ankle sprain that had him miss, I think it was 5 games. I actually, for as disappointing a season it was good to watch a guy like a Dembona mature, improve. But all in all, what feels even worse than just a 24-win season or 24-win season. Yeah, 24-58. What feels worse than that is the unknown still of next year. While I'm excited and looking forward to watching Tyrese Maxey continue to get better as an NBA player, and hopefully still seeing him with Quentin Grimes and seeing him with Jared McCain and seeing a Dembona, and these guys just continue to get better and better. Justin Edwards continue to get better and better. That's not a championship roster. That's at best a fringe NBA playoff roster. That's a play-in tournament maybe roster. What it's going to hinge on, because according to Daryl Morey, we'll let you hear it himself in a second, Joel Embiid and Paul George will be back. Also, Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse will be back. Quote-unquote, 100% in all categories. Here's one thing I know. Joel Embiid's time for competing for an MVP is over. Over. Even if you think he's going to get back to a similar caliber level of play, he ain't playing 65-plus games. So he's not going to be eligible for an MVP award. Paul George, I have more confidence in getting back to at least the form that we saw him at with his last year with the Clippers. I got way more confidence in that, which is still to say not a lot of confidence, but more than Joel Embiid, of him coming back and being a key contributor to this team. So it all comes down to these guys and what you're really going to get out of them. Now, I think Joel Embiid can still be a very talented basketball player. Not, again, MVP caliber, no way. But in terms of helping you win basketball games, in terms of getting you 20 and 10 and some blocks, yeah, I think he can be that guy. And you also have a backup center that's one of your most athletic centers you've had since, I was thinking, Theo Ratliff is the name that came to mind when I thought about athletic centers. Certainly is a guy that could come out here and block shots into Dembona. Andre Drummond said yesterday that he wants to come back for the Sixers. He's got a $5 million player option. So I would assume, look, either way, Joel Embiid or no Joel Embiid, you're going to need centers on this team. And I think you could rest assured that you're going to see a Dembona and Andre Drummond on this Sixers team again next year, taking a good amount of those reps away from Joel Embiid and the time that he needs to rest or, God forbid, re-aggravate any other injury he's ever had. But everything is going to come down to, when it comes to how far this Sixers team can go next year and make a about face and maybe a 50-win season, everything's going to come down to whether or not Joel Embiid is at all healthy. It's all going to come down to whether or not Paul George can get back to the last season he had with the LA Clippers. We were talking about a guy that shot 46% from beyond the arc. I don't need a guy to be a thrasher anymore. I don't need him to go to the rim like he used to. I don't need to have him have that explosiveness. I just need him to be a good shooter from the outside. Occasionally put the ball on the floor. But talk about being aggressive in other sports. I don't need him to be nearly as aggressive. Leave that up to Tyrese Maxey. Leave that up to Jared McKay. Leave that up to Quentin Grimes to be aggressive. You just sit there and shoot some threes, baby. Give me that 46% from beyond the arc, please. Keep yourself safe. Keep yourself healthy. But really, that's what it's going to come down to next year. So there is a feeling of, as bad as this year was, next year is still a ginormous question mark. And one of the things I'll point out, I think it was Kyle Neubeck of PHLY that asked the question. When it comes to Joel Embiid's surgery, there was a lot of things that were floated out there about things that he could have done. They could break part of his ear off and put it in his knee, and that'll make it better. There's all these extremes. That's an exaggeration. But they went what seems like to be one of the easier routes, less invasive routes, I guess. Daryl Morey wouldn't get into it, and he's smart not to, especially nowadays with players. Like I remember this first with Andrew Bynum, where, if you remember Adam Aaron back in the day throwing it out there, well, there's HIPAA laws out there that we can't talk about a player's injury because, HIPAA laws and all that. And I'm like, is this really the thing that we're using? I'm all for, people's rights and stuff. But we're talking about basketball players where people are buying tickets to go to these games to watch this player play, and they want to have hope for their team. And now mum is the word when it comes to these injuries. And I get it to a certain extent. But this is the best route for Joel Embiid to come back and be healthy? I really hope that's the case. But as I think we've all learned from the Sixers in recent memory, I don't trust anything until I see it. I don't trust anything from the 76ers team. Anything. Joel Embiid's health. Joel Embiid going to play in the Olympics despite the fact that he's having knee surgery, despite the fact he was only at about 65, maybe 70% against the Knicks in the playoffs. Daryl Morey physically upset, or visibly upset about it at the end of last year. And now here we are talking about another surgery for Joel Embiid and what level of play he's going to be at when he comes back next year. Rather than just tell you about it, let's hear from Daryl Morey himself. This is Daryl Morey when he was asked yesterday about Paul George and Joel Embiid coming back.
Paul and Joel also will be back 100%. I think Joel of the three has is going to attack this offseason, this rehab. Dr. Glashow, who did the surgery, is very optimistic about his prognosis. We love that, after a lot of work, working with, over 10 doctors, 6 in person who examined him, and a long process to get to the right answer. We feel great that Dr. Glashow was the right answer, and that the surgery went so well.
I'm glad everything went well, but 100% back is the interesting point there, because I think there was some thought, maybe a lot of thought, at least in the 76ers fan base. I was thinking about it, I know, about Paul George. Can the Sixers move on from this deal? Can the Sixers somehow move on from Joel Embiid's deal? Is this going to be a miracle similar to moving on from Al Horford's contract those years ago? Running it back. That's what the Sixers are going to do. There was a couple of things from this season, last offseason. And I said it at the time, so this isn't revisionist history. I didn't know what the hell Daryl Morey was doing. And I remember specifically, I was doing a hit with CBS 3. And Alicia Roberts actually asked me the question. And she said, with Eric Gordon coming to Philadelphia, what does this mean for Kyle Lowry? And I'm like, well, I think this is the end for Kyle Lowry. I mean, you can't go into the offseason with the team that you're worried about injuries with and bring in a guy that's, 35 and 38 in Kyle Lowry and Eric Gordon. That's going to be what you go with here? Can't do that. Eric Gordon, 36 now. Kyle Lowry, 39. You're not going to bring those guys back. You can't bring both. You can't bring both those guys in here. And sure enough, what happened? That's exactly what Daryl Morey did. And also, I think part of it was because Jared McCain was expected to be G League, NBA, G League, NBA, NBA, G League. Like, he wasn't supposed to be a Rookie of the Year candidate, which is exactly what he was. Would have won Rookie of the Year. So I found it funny that Daryl Morey, when he talked about one regret that he had about decisions he made, it was about an aging team only getting older.
When you go through a season like this, you need to, really take a step back, and everyone needs to find a mirror, starting with myself. What could have gone better? What can I do better? And there's quite a few things there. I would say one of those things is I was very focused on finding veteran-type players who, generally perform very well in the playoffs. And I didn't put enough emphasis on the team getting through the regular season. And so next season, for sure, we will be a younger, more dynamic group.
All right. I had one response to that. Ugh. That was my response to that. I think Jared McCain's going to have a big part of that as far as being younger. Somebody they know they can rely on coming out of the injury. All seems to be going well there for Jared McCain. Quentin Grimes obviously can help in that category. I think starting the season next year with Quentin Grimes, assuming you can get him back next year, is going to be better than having Eric Gordon. It's going to be better than having Kyle Lowry. I think that's a better jumping off point. I think that's a step in the right direction. But this all just comes down to what I always call the greatest if in sports is if Joel Embiid is healthy. But even that is now diminishing. That if is diminishing because his impact on the game won't be as dire as needed as it was in his MVP years, which are behind him. I'd love to be wrong on that, but that would be the most blind leap of faith I think I would ever take. I don't see it anymore for Joel Embiid, which makes me feel I just don't see it anymore for the Sixers team. I know a lot of people will go back and they'll look at the process years and all that stuff. What's absolutely incredible to me, and I was watching a little bit of the Clippers, and was it Clippers Clippers Warriors last night. Yeah. And Kawhi Leonard missed a 3 at the end of the game. And I went back and I was thinking about the quadruple doink and all that stuff in Toronto. And I was thinking about what if right before that moment, someone would say, here's what's going to happen. Kawhi Leonard is going to knock down one of the most improbable shots over Joel Embiid in the corner. And then the Sixers will never, after that point, have a better moment than right before that moment. Like, the best version of this Sixers team, when they actually started winning, was the team that they originally were right after they started to actually want to win basketball games. When Elton Brand took over, he went out and he got Jimmy Butler, which was a great acquisition. He went out and he got Tobias Harris. At the time, for that team, that was a great acquisition. That was the best team I've seen this 76ers squad put together since Allen Iverson in 2001. And that was gone. Gone. Not even a season of it together. It was gone. And now I look at the 76ers team and think, it's all on Tyrese Maxey's shoulders now. It's going to be on Jared McCain's shoulders now. I mean, if you're talking about things you could depend on next year, I could depend on those two guys. I mean, really, Tyrese Maxey above all, but I can depend on him. But is he still a good enough guy to just carry a team into the playoffs? No. This isn't about the second round anymore. This isn't about the playoffs. This is about winning an NBA title. This is about showing significant improvement. And that's all dead in the water. And the Sixers just sound like a team that is going to run it back and just hope, pray, cross their fingers, whatever, for the idea that these guys are all of a sudden going to be healthy. Hey, it's a good start to not, bring in 35, 38-year-olds. That's good. That's a good start. But Fountain of Youth might do him some good when it comes to Joel Embiid. Magical healing powers. I don't know. But it was, I would say this, watching the 37 minutes of the press conference yesterday, it was depressing. It's the word I would use. Talk about the 76ers right now. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use promo code Farzy. Maybe you want to go down there to the Phillies game. Maybe you want to cheer on the Phils. Maybe you want to help them turn things around, right? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase. Jeez. You want tickets to the big game? You want tickets to the comedy show, the concert, the big event? Game Time app has you covered. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. What time is it? Game time. How about PHL Sports Nation? Philadelphia Sports Nation enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's phlsportsnation.com. How about Sky Motorcars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Before I get into the chat check, how dare I? I'm not a huge Masters guy. Was following it yesterday. If you remember last year, I was like, I bet you Rory McIlroy wins the Masters. That was last year. It was a year off. Comes back this year. Despite bogeys galore, he wins the Masters in an incredible, he had a hook shot on 16 or 17. That is the thing that I wish, hey, look, I'm a guy that just goes out there and tries to break 100, okay? I'm there for good times. I ain't there to play well. But, man, when I watch professional golfers, I look at that shot and I go, if I just knew how to do that on purpose, then I might be able to break 90 instead of 100. But that was a miraculous shot. Just whipped it around the woods with a sweeper. That's what he did. It was magnificent, absolutely magnificent. And I can't imagine what it was like for him to hit that final putt, drop to his knees, and just lose it. And his line, I got to go get a green jacket. Oh my goodness, that was great. Started off his press conference afterwards with, "Hey, what are we going to be talking about next year?" Very happy for him. Fan of his. Great to see that for him, winning the 2025 Masters and a Grand Slam winner now. So congratulations to Rory McIlroy. Let's get into the chat check, see how you guys are doing after a rough weekend in Philadelphia sports. Danny, what's up? What's up, Danny? Pin 9617, good morning, Farns. Good morning. Go Sixers. Marsh is not a big leaguer. Certainly does not look like a big leaguer. And I would agree. Pin also says, rumor on social media this weekend says TJ Watt to the Eagles. Any truth? I'd be shocked. Not much shocks me, but I would use the term shocked. Would not see TJ Watt. How old is TJ Watt? 30 now. I would never see I wouldn't see the Steelers moving on. All right, here's a trade rumor. Pass rusher TJ Watt has been a premier defensive player in the NFL, of course. All right. Following a cryptic Instagram post featuring himself giving a peace sign, TJ Watt trade rumors have been swirling. Pat McAfee show told fans across the league they should keep an eye on Watt's contract situation in Pittsburgh. Trying to negotiate a new deal. We'll get to the... I'm not seeing anything that says what the compensation would be expecting. But yeah, I wouldn't see the Eagles in on that one. That would be shocking to me. If they didn't re-sign Zach Bond, for instance, then I wouldn't be as surprised. But yeah, I don't see TJ Watt coming to the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't get me wrong. If you're telling me TJ Watt's on the team next year, I'm pretty excited. I just don't think the Eagles go that far with it. Hey, you know what, though? I've been calling for a Howie wow me move. TJ Watt, sure. Bring it on down. Bohm should stop using the torpedo bat, Mr. Cranky says. Is he even still using the torpedo bat? I don't even know. Is Alec Bohm still using the torpedo bat? I haven't noticed. Sean Gillespie, same old Phil's morning, everyone. I know, right? Go Sixers, wasting some great starting pitching, Farzy. Yeah, but the thing with the starting pitching is that wasn't great in Zach Wheeler's last two starts. So that's a bit of a problem. Also, going back with Zach Wheeler, the Johan Rojas play still is just so mind-numbing to me. That was the first game of the road trip, and you dropped that game. Was Zach Wheeler sharp? Absolutely not. But giving a team extra outs in an inning, also never a good thing. Go Sixers. Tinker Topper needs to start tinkering. He is tinkering. How about instead of tinkering, you drop the hammer and you say, hey, you know what, Bob? You're going to sit down for a couple days. Take a break. Why don't you take a break? Okay. Long hair and a beard was enough for the Phillies at the time. Sean Kilray. What's up, Sean? How you doing? Sean Kilray, check this out. Alec Bohm, since May 1st, 2024, 246 batting average. Really? That low? That's terrible. 11 home runs, 70 RBIs. So what do you have? Just like a really hot April last year? I'm surprised to see those numbers so low. But yeah, then it's more than just this slump. Sean Kilmer again. Brandon Marsh since July. Oh, God, I don't even want to know. 214? That's since July 1st, 2024. He's hitting 214. Gross. Bring up Justin Crawford. He's playing his fourth career game in left field tonight. Coming into the season, only played left field once. The 2024 Futures game. Hey, I'm never the guy to say, you might ruin a guy. I only ever invoke that when I think it's the team's perspective of it. I always thought you bring a younger guy up to test the waters in Major League Baseball, and you go, hey, look, we don't necessarily think that you're ready for this moment right now, but we know you're not going to get any better down there anymore. or down here at this point. So go up there and just, this is a learning experience. Hey, if you flourish, great. If you don't flourish, that's fine. We're not exposed. We just want you to get your feet wet so you know when you go back down here, you know what you have to work on. That's how I look at it, at least. People seem to think I'm crazy for that. William Stark, good morning. Good morning. April. Hello, April. Sucks that the Phils couldn't take advantage of the Dodgers' loss. I'm not even looking at the standings yet. I know that now they're 9-6 on the season. Somebody told me I was overreacting. Go figure. Somebody told me I was overreacting in the postcast. They're like, well, you sound like a child being this mad in April. They're still in first place. And I'm like, I'm the child, and you're talking about being in first place? Which, by the way, are they even in first place in the NL East, that is? Not the National League? I don't even know where they're at right now because I don't care. I'm checking the standings in April. Damn it, now he's got me to check the standings. Yeah, they're a game behind the Mets. I don't know if they'll catch them. Game up on the Mets. 2 games up on the Marlins. All right, I'm done. I'm not looking at this anymore. Pen 96, hello. Sixers may be able to move on from Paul George. There's no way we can move on from Joel Embiid. That contract is monstrous. That it is. Jason A., good morning. Maury is sad. Definitely. Why Niners? Why good morning, Farzy and Fred Flyers. 2 games to go. Wings 1 regular season game left. Technically could hit the play. They have a slightly less than 2% chance of making the playoffs. The Wings. They won over the weekend. It was fantastic. They won at the Wells Fargo Center. The crowd was insane. Deacon Knott was in net. It was a rough fourth quarter. But other than that, Wings dominated. Sean Gillespie, hello. I was at the Flyers game on Saturday, by the way. Wine Niners wine. I was at the Flyers game, but I didn't watch any of it. I was at the Flyers game to watch the Phillies at the bar so I could – well, I didn't drink, for the record. I just was there because the TVs were on. And I had to do the Phillies postcast, which I did from the media room at the Wells Fargo Center. So I watched the game from one of the bars at the Wells Fargo Center, went to the media room, did the postcast, and then went to my booth to be the PA announcer for the Wings. It was a full day, baby. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm looking to change my ways. In Michael Jackson voice. Sean Gillespie, well played. I mean, how do you not think of Michael Jackson when somebody says, look at the man in the mirror? Gonna make a change. All right, yeah, sorry. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on? Good morning. Hey, Mark, any word on Weston Wilson due back an injury? He just had a warm-up. He just had a rehab. I think he was in Clearwater. I think, did he play in the game that Andrew Painter pitched in? But I'd hope he'd be back in the next week or two. It was an oblique injury, so I know those can be a strenuous activity. But I know he's playing. Yeah. He's playing, so hopefully in the near future he'll be on the Phillies bench. The Phillies need a shot of something to wake him up. I don't know how many espressos can you have. Sean Kilrain, for the trade for TJ Watt, giving them a 2025 second round pick and a 2026 third round pick. Got to do it, Howie. That trade I'd do, but if you're Pittsburgh and you still have a player in his prime, a second and a third, I don't think does it. Here's the other thing. Other teams know Howie's haul. They know what he has this year and next year in the draft. So they're going to get whatever they can from him. They're going to gouge him. So I would doubt it's only going to be a second and a third. That'd be very surprising if that's all that is for TJ Watt. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. As I mentioned, Phillies back at it tonight against San Francisco Giants. The Giants are 11-4 on the season. So good luck, Phillies. Cross our fingers something positive happens tonight. after just getting dominated over the weekend. Landon Rupp gets the start. Right-handed pitcher. He's 0-1 on the season, 3.60 ERA. Taijuan Walker, the red-hot Taijuan Walker, takes to the hill tonight. 1-0 on the season. Scoreless in 10 2/3 innings of work. Against the righty tonight, curious to see what the lineup is. I would assume it's going to be very similar. I don't think you're going to see Brandon Marsh in the lineup, and I really hope you don't see Alec Bohm in the lineup. I'm going to cross my fingers for that. I'm going to cross my fingers for it. As far as those Flyers that Wine Niners Wine mentioned earlier, the Flyers did win that game in a shootout, by the way, against the Islanders. They lost to the Senators yesterday. They got the Blue Jackets tomorrow in South Philly. Sixers are donezo. So that's exciting. We don't have to suffer through that anymore. The Sixers this season can't hurt us anymore, which is a wonderful thing. Now I'm hooked on Weston Wilson. Give me the minor league stats, baby. Yeah, played 4 games in Clearwater at this point. He's batting 100. So clearly he's not ready. No. Yeah, he's got 4 games played down there, 14 plate appearances. He scored 4 runs. NFL. He's walked 4 times. On base percentage is 357. Yeah, baby. Now you can bring him up. All right. So that's what's going on with your Philadelphia Phillies. Thanks for watching. Wine Niners Wine says the Steelers aren't moving on from Watt. They just need to extend Watt. There you go. That's probably, I think that's the ending that happens there with TJ Watt. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Ooh, Joe Whipp comes in at the last minute here. Release Brandon Marsh. Call up Crawford. You ain't going to get an argument from me. I would very much doubt, by the way, I'd very much doubt, Joe, that Brandon Marsh makes us regret letting him go. Very much doubt it. Danny, thank you. Very kind. Love that you watch the show. Love having you. How about that? Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Be back with you guys tonight on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the Farzy Show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Jacob Media. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On Phillies, where yours truly will bring in your postcast after each and every game. Although I will say, programming note, I'm off Saturday, family wedding Saturday, so no postcast Saturday. I'll be on the dance floor, okay? A little electric slide, little boogie-woogie, whatever. That's going to go down. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Like and subscribe to Farzy Show YouTube channel. Catch you guys tonight on Locked On Phillies postcast. See you then.